All right, welcome back. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has increased the benchmark interest rate by 400 basis points to a record 22.75%. The CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso revealed this while reading the communique of the first MPC meeting of the year on Tuesday in Abuja. At the last meeting in July 2023, the MPC, headed by the former acting governor of the Apex Bank, Fola Shonubi, increased the monetary policy rate by 25% from 18.75% in the last year's May. Now, I'm going to just, stay with us virtually. There's three gentlemen, Mr. Nika Gule, Chukwuma Okoroa, and Great Imo. But this time, I would want to come to Mr. Chukwuma on this one. Do you see the finance minister, of course, at this point, do you see any of this interest rate increment having a very significant difference in the Nigerian economy, particularly?
Unfortunately, Nigeria doesn't have an economy as it is. You know why I say so? The facts of the economy are most times simulations or projections made not based on statistics that is available. The whole essence of this increment in the interest rate is to tighten the monetary policy and then control inflation. That is the whole essence of it. What is the government trying to achieve? To ensure that there is less cash in the society, because more money now is pursuing few goods, and that is what is causing the inflation. But you turn around to ask yourself this same question. Are you trying to tighten the monetary policy to control inflation when the purchasing power of the average Nigerian is already debased, very low, to the point that even what we have cannot buy any goods? And it is not as if the goods are even there. The goods are not there. The goods are in surplus. Why? Because you are not producing. Because you are not producing, you are doing what? You are importing. And what do you import with? You don't import with naira. You import with dollars. So the whole thing is complicated, and you see the government grappling, running from pillar to post, trying to do some kind of experimentation. If you look at the tone of the press release issued by the MPC, you see that they are not even very sure. They too are skeptical. So from that basis, it is difficult to say, it is difficult to make projections to say, okay, in the next 3, 4, 5 months, that the inflation is going to drop based on the increment in the interest rate. And by the way, who are you giving the interest rate? Bankers. Who collects the money from bankers? Manufacturers. What do manufacturers do with this money? They use it to plow back into their businesses. And when they do, because there is no electricity, they buy diesel. And what do? They transfer the cost to who? To the consumer at the end of the day. And mind you, they will also factor in the interest rate in that particular product that they are selling. So at the end of the day, we are just experimenting with what we are not sure of. We need to go back to the basics. Well, if it is going to solve the problem, all well and good, but I don't see it doing that. What do I mean by going back to the basics? Let's go back to agriculture. We always talk about going back to agriculture. Let us go back to steel. Nick mentioned steel. Let us go back to transportation. It is key to the growth of our economy. Look at, I used to say the whole of the North can feed West Africa. But people don't go to farm again because of what? Because of insecurity. So if you give somebody 22.7%, a rice farmer in Kaduna State, you give him 22.7%, what is he going to do with the money? Because when he goes to farm, what happens? Bandits, herders chase away his farmers. The man comes back to the house. Meanwhile, the bank doesn't know that the farmers are not working. The interest keeps running. At the end of the day, the man defaults. He has not produced rice. He's owing the bank. So what has happened? Nothing has happened. You go back to square one. So see, we need to recalibrate the system to the point that, look, the economy is functioning optimally by doing what? By producing. We talked about gas. Nils talked about Qatar being a gas nation. Yeah. Nigeria has more gas deposits than every other country in Africa. Yet we are flaring it. We don't even have enough. We don't have enough. A liter of gas, 1 kg of gas in my area is 1,500 naira. Mm-hmm. So what do you make out of that? Mm-hmm. People are going back to charcoal. People are going back to charcoal because they can't afford gas. Yet Nigeria is a gas country. It's a gas nation. Until such a time that we get back to the basics, recalibrate this economy. What happened to our palm oil? What happened to the granules? What happened to cocoa? All right. 45% of GDP comes from cocoa.
Yeah. All right. I want to ask. Sorry to cut your line of thought, Mr. Chukwuma. This question is for Mr. Great Imo. Now, we have said a lot of things, and I want you to give a detailed information of the implication of this to Nigerians, to the Nigerian economy, because I know that we have a lot of people watching us, and I want them to understand properly what this means to the Nigerian economy.
Okay. Simply, what the new interest rate means simply is that the cost of borrowing is high now. And the implications are this. Number one, the person who will borrow for production is going to make the cost of production higher. That means it's also going to stifle export. As much as we also want to, reflect the economy and also boost our own internal productivity to provide for the citizens, we also needed to improve on our export to earn foreign exchange to also shore up our currency. But with this rate, there's going to be a lot of despondency because industrialists are not going to take money at that rate and still be able to export competitively because other countries are producing maybe at a cheaper rate and at an inflationary value that is lower, and they are bringing to the same market you are going to. So one thing this will lead to is that it's going to reduce our capacity to export, number one, because the cost of production goes up. But what needed to be done, if at all, while you are battling the monetary policy end of it, is that the fiscal policy needs to be rejigged to shore up this. For example, I don't know what in the world that is making those in Nigeria who are ruling Nigeria unable to allow the use of basket of currency trading like the BRIC nations are doing right now. Nigeria is left porous to absorb, you understand, the excess liquidity of dollar. Because Joe Biden printed over 8 trillion in the last 4 years, and without we consuming and absorbing this pressure, American economy will have problems. So the IMF have asked us to float the currency we floated, we remove subsidy, we let our economy porous. If we need to pivot away from that, we may need to go straight away. If 70% of our import, for example, machine tools and other raw materials are from China, why don't we do direct currency swap? Why would Nigerians need Naira to buy a dollar to convert to Chinese yuan to go and import goods? By so doing, you have lost almost 30% of value, and somebody else benefit from it, another country benefit from it. So we need a strong fiscal policy to balance all this. And again, even these commercial banks, their credit, their credit valuation shows that they are not given to the reproductive sector. They are not given to those who they supposed to be given to. So they are even stifling the credit because if you are not a Dangote, you will not get it. Right. And the fiscal policy is not structured in a way to insist and ensure that they do it. For example, we should be having Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry now reflected. We need to bring in more this thing and also streamline the processes. And then we need to improve on data because we should know who should be needing what. So especially this area of data is a non-starter for Nigeria because right now the country is running without accurate data. We don't know what we need for what and how to get them there. So having done this, to quell the inflationary growth, to quell the inflation, you need maybe good fiscal policy to balance it. Otherwise, everything will spiral out of control. They will continue to remain at the
Okay,
worst situation.
I'm gonna quickly come to Mr. Nick on this one, and well, because of time, we really want you to be quick on this as well. Now, the 400 basis points simply mean 4%, like we know. At this point, the CBN governor's monetary policy raised MPR by 4% from 18.75% to 22.75%. Now, raising the MPR could curb inflation or woo investors. So it's either a win-win situation. Now, my question is very simple. Do you think that this particular raise of MPR would slow the economy or increase the economy, with the fact that investors may likely come in, because that simply means interest rate is bigger for investors? Do you think this or otherwise? Mr. Nick.
Let me try and put this thing in a layman's language as much as I can for the benefit of our viewers.
Okay.
So the CBN is a doctor. The Nigerian economy is the patient. The CBN thinks that the Nigerian economy is suffering from malaria. That is inflation. Whereas the Nigerian economy is actually suffering from stagflation, which is typhoid. So if it is malaria that the economy is suffering from, if the medicine for that malaria is increase interest rate, it will solve it. If it's only inflation, it will solve it. Whereas if it is stagflation, if you apply interest rate increase, it will make the patient worse. So we can ask ourselves now, since the doctor, the CBN, has been applying malaria treatment, interest rate hike, has the interest rate falling? Answer is no. The patient is not doing better. The patient is getting worse. All over the world now, inflation has been falling because central banks around the world have been increasing interest rate, and inflation has been falling because their economies are different from Nigeria's economy. Their own economy is suffering malaria. Our own is stagflation. So what is stagflation? Stagflation is that your economy has low output. Low output. You know, inflation can be caused by increased demand or low output. If you have less supply of goods in the market, it will also increase prices, even if demand is the same. So Nigerian economy is suffering from low output, and that low output has resulted in low employment rate. Because if you are not producing anything, you will not employ people. And that is what is now resulting in inflation. So what you do with stagflation is you cut interest rate. Cut it. Why are you cutting the interest rate? You are cutting the interest rate because you want businesses to access cheaper credit so that you can increase your output. You boost your output. And by boosting your output, you generate more jobs. Do you understand? Because I can give you an example. In the UK now, for instance, unemployment rate in the UK is 5%. 5. That means 95% of people in the UK are in jobs. That is why interest rate rise can solve their inflation matter. In Nigeria, 50% of the people as we speak today, this morning, they have no job to go to.
More than 50%.
Even the 50% that are going to a job, most of them are earning below minimum wage. So if we increase interest rate, it now makes it more expensive for businesses to access credit and boost output. So what do? They either fold up, or those who, and once they fold up, the unemployment situation exacerbates. Or those who are still in business, they will transfer the cost of the increased interest rate into the prices of goods and services, and that becomes inflationary. Do you understand? So the central bank governor and his team need to go and sit down and understand the factors that are causing inflation in Nigeria. You know, the inflation in Nigeria is coming from food inflation. What is causing food inflation in Nigeria? Because the farming communities have been driven away from their farms by herders. So there's less food in the market. Also, Nigeria's food is being produced manually. if you give machines to the farmers, they will produce much more food. You know, then foreign exchange, what you are importing, even the food you are importing, when you were importing it at dollar at 150, is now going to cost more with dollar at 1.5, 1.6.
All right.
This has nothing to do with demand. So the CBN is focused on a demand pull inflation. But Nigeria's inflation, the majority of it, the biggest quantum of it is coming from cost.
All right.
Cost push inflation.
All
So
right,
maybe the CBN governor needs to publish their data.
All right, then.
Let us see their data to see where and what and how much do they think the different factors are.
Okay. All right, then. Well, we must say a very big thank you to you, Nick. I honestly wish we had more time to go into, more on this, as it breaks it down for the ordinary Nigerian to understand even better.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to consider that your concluding thoughts on this on this issue. Is that okay?
Yes, no, that's fine. My concluding thought is that let the CBN governor publish the data that makes them think demand is the cause of the inflation in Nigeria, because we think otherwise.
All right, then. Thank you very much. So quickly, in about 1 minute each, I would like Chukwuma Okoroa to give us your concluding thoughts as well.
Moses, the best thing the government can do is to push Nigerians in any way they can. Whatever they need to do, Nigerians should go back to agriculture.
Well,
If in 4 years, the government is able to revive agriculture, if the government is able to revive agriculture in the remaining 3 years of their tenure, they will have done much, so very much, to the economy of Nigeria.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Well, I like I said, security will need to be fixed for that to happen. All right, great email, please.
That's why I said anything they need to do. That's why I said anything they need to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Chukwuma Okoroa. Great email. Your concluding thoughts. You could merge the two topics to give us your concluding thoughts. Feel free to do so.
We need to quickly solve security problem. We need to solve transportation problem, which dovetails into logistics, so that the cost of taking goods from one end to the other is reduced. Then CBN should also be careful, because I guess what they are pursuing is these portfolio investors who simply want to bring in dollar here at a higher rate, and when they are charged by any economic challenges, they pull away. Those are not sustainable. Security, solve logistics, then when we do that, improve the productivity of Nigeria, especially the agricultural base, and over a period of time, then also reduce the cost of governance. Whatever they can do to reduce that. I can say, for example, I'm from Abia State. Why it looks like everything is improving, look at this capital budget is about 86 or 85%, while the current expenditure is about 16%. Those are not rocket science. We shouldn't be spending too much of our money catering for less than 2 million Nigerians who are in the civil service and political office. Over 200 million people are struggling. Put the money where it's supposed to go.
All right. Big thanks to you, great Imo and Chukwuma Okoroa, both journalists and public affairs commentators, and Nick Agule, who is a chartered accountant and a big player in the oil and gas sector. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on VOP this morning. We'll take a break now, and then we'll delve into other parts of the show. We have business, we have entertainment, and then sports to wrap up the day. Well, stay with us as we go into business shortly after this break.